antithesis of many developing economies, including India, today is in economic growth and development. The underlying assumption is that if there is adequate growth and development, jobs will be created and economic and social disparities will be reduced. This will lead to satisfying the basic human needs of food, shelter, healthcare, and education of poor and vulnerable people. However, with economic growth as the main focus of our development, the question of sustainability of the environment is generally overlooked. What does this concept mean? This concept has several dimensions: economic, social, our relation with nature and its biodiversity, etc. When we want to have development, we must ensure that we are aware of the impact on the environment or the ecosystem in general, the air, water bodies, forests, and all living beings, plants, birds, animals, fishes, etc. All parts of this ecosystem are interrelated, and any harm to one has an impact on the others too. Today, we focus on development, neglecting our environment. We have many environment protection laws in theory, but often they are violated by the people and sometimes by the authorities themselves. Thus, we actually say a yes to development and a no to environment protection. So, that itself is our topic. We are looking into certain laws and examples of their violations. Say yes to development and no to environment protection. In February 1991, the Central Ministry of Environment and Forests issued a notification for regulation of activities in the coastal areas of the country. As per the notification, the coastal land up to 500 meter from the high tide line or HTL and a stage of 100 meter along banks of creeks, lagoons, estuaries, backwater and rivers subject to tidal fluctuations is called the Coastal Regulation Zone or the CRZ. The notification imposed restriction on the setting up and expansion of industries or processing plants, etc. in the CRZ. CRZ area was classified as CRZ1, ecologically sensitive areas, CRZ2, built-up areas, CRZ3, rural areas, and CRZ4, water areas. After the demolition of apartments built in violation of CRZ norms at Maradal, Ernakulam, over 26,000 CRZ violations were found across 10 coastal districts of Kerala. The Coastal District Committees or the CDC, constituted by the government following the directive of Supreme Court, has identified 26,259 CRZ violations across the state. Out of these, let us look into 3 examples of violations. First one, Choice Marina, the twin tower residential apartment at Pallurthi, located in the CRZ2 category, violating the CRZ norms. Second one, the Ravis 5-star deluxe luxury hotel at Trikadavur, constructed on the no development zone of CRZ3 category, where construction of hotel buildings is not permissible. And finally, the Hira Waters apartment at Kadavandra, which falls within the CRZ2 category, where construction is prohibited. So, that is it.
The Wildlife Protection Act was passed in the year 1972 and is an act of the Parliament of India enacted for the protection of plant and animal species. It has 6 schedules which give varying degrees of protection. The act was passed in the year 1972 and has been amended 6 times, and the last amendment took place in the year 2006. With over 40 years of being mentioned in the statute book, the interpretation and understanding of the Act has been intensified because of decisions of the High Court and the Supreme Court. The Act prohibits the hunting of wild animals and plants and imposes punishments for violating the same. It provides security to animals that are in danger of becoming extinct. It gives sweeping powers to the law enforcement authorities to punish anybody guilty under the Act. It empowers the central government and the state government to declare certain areas as sanctuaries or national parks. It provides legal powers to officers and punishment to offenders. It guarantees the protection of all the endangered species. It provides for the setting up of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. It imposes a ban on the trade and commerce in scheduled animals. It had a comprehensive list of endangered wildlife species for the first time, and prohibition of hunting of the endangered species was mentioned. It provides for the appointment of Wildlife Advisory Board, Wildlife Warden, and fixes their powers and duties. Yet, there exist some unanswered questions and grey areas within the law. The Act is generally characterized as a very strong codification of the law for wildlife protection within India. However, there still remains the questions about its level of implementation and execution. One of the most important violations is hunting. Even though hunting of wild animals is strictly prohibited under the Wildlife Protection Act, tiger hunting is regarded in India as a royal sport, and he who is successful in bagging this master of jungle is looked upon as a public benefactor. According to the data from the Ministry of Forest Environment and Climate Change, there were 84 cases of tiger deaths in the country, out of which 22 were killed of poaching. Most of them are hunted and killed for the skin, which caused lakhs among the illegal traders. Not just tigers, many other animals too face this threat. Taxidermy is the act of preserving an animal's body by mounting or stuffing for the purpose of display or study. Even though most of the taxidermic animals are from roadkill accidents, trophy animals are still being killed by hunters to be used for taxidermy. According to the 2016 UN World Wildlife Crime Report, criminals are illegally trading products derived from over 7,000 species of wild animals and plants across the world. This is a matter of serious concern, and illegal trading in wild animals is a serious violation of the Wildlife Protection Act. The People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals India, an animal rights organization, has approached the Delhi High Court seeking directions to impose an immediate ban on the use of animals in circuses across the country. In the petition, they said that the use of weapons and other abuse of animals is inherent, rampant, and widespread in circuses, which commonly violate the Wildlife Protection Act and also the Performing Animals Act of 2001. Opposing speciesism, the police said that the animals are not ours to be used for entertainment and pointed out that several other countries have banned the use of animals in circuses, including Greece, Italy, and Malta. The plea also points out that animals in circuses are continuously chained or caged and deprived of veterinary care, food, sufficient water, and suitable shelter. Habitat loss poses the greatest threat to the species. The world's forests, swamps, plains, lakes, and other habitats continue to disappear as they are harvested for human consumption and cleared to make way for agriculture, housing, roads, pipelines, and other hallmarks of industrial development. Without a strong and proper plan, these important ecological habitats will continue to be lost.
The Forest Conservation Act 1918, an act of the Parliament of India to provide for the conservation of forest and for matters connected therewith or ancillary or incidental thereto. It was further amended in 1988. This law extends to the whole of India. It was enacted by the Parliament of India to control further deforestation of forest areas in India. The Indian Forest Act empowered the government to declare any land covered with trees as government forests and to issue rules to conserve them. It empowered the government to exercise control over the forests. Western Ghats is considered to be one of the global biodiversity hotspots with its lively climate and its scenic geography. But studies done by Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, have found through remote sensing data available that Kerala have lost 906,440 hectares of forest land. The new study by IISc states that the forest cover as a percentage of total land area has been reduced from 66.2% to 42%. The study has found that Kerala has delivered more than 50% of total forest area for the other purpose since 1973. It paints the blame on these actions for the eroding forest cover. There are many cases of violating these forest laws which are later has many disastrous after effects. The outbreak of Nipah virus in the state of Kerala is considered as the result of deforestation in Kerala over a quarter century. Restrictions to the infrastructural and developmental activities are primarily associated with the outbreak of this zoonotic infection. The habitat change negatively impacts the ecological integrity and biodiversity by disrupting food web structure of the flying fox fruit bat. Lack of food resources leads to nutritional and physiological stress among bats. That brings bats closer to human habitation and increases the change of exposure to food near and transmitting to humans. The studies conducted by various organizations among the Nipah outbreak found out that there is an extensive decline in the forest cover of several districts in Kerala from 1993 to 2017. About 27% of the forest area have been lost due to various human activities. This habitat loss leads the bats to move to places where they can find food. Thus, the victims of Madagan got pushed towards the human settlement, resulting in the zoonotic outbreak. The sad case of pregnant elephant dying in Kerala state of Wayanad district is another incident connected by the violation of forest laws. The cutting down of the large areas of forest made loss of habitat and lack of food resources for these animals. This made them move towards the places where they could find food. The death of elephant in fields and near human habitation is not a modern phenomenon, but it is more or not less acute today than in past. It is said that 6 of every elephant killed in the country were in defense to crops and livelihood. Illegal forest activities deprive governments of billions of dollars in tax revenues, as well as cause environmental damage and threaten forest. Forest-related corruption and widespread violation of forestry laws undermines the rule of law, discourages legitimate investigation, and gives unfair disadvantages.
The Environment Protection Act, usually referred to as the Umbrella Law, has a wide range of rules and notifications adopted under it. Let us have a closer look onto the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016 and Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016 that comes under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. In order to get rid of the tons of solid waste produced yearly, Kerala High Court banned dumping of waste in public places on November 2011 and declared it as a criminal offence. The news reported by The Hindu on July 7, 2017, that is 6 years after the ban, is one among the continuing cases on the dumping of waste on public places. The former Chief Secretary, Tom Jose, said about the need of practical ideas on March 2019. The inappropriate master plans, even after years, is keeping laws just as theories. In order to get rid of the huge waste dump in Brahmapuram, Kerala government signed Waste to Energy Plant project in 2016 with GJ Ecopower Private Limited for 375 crores. But later on, after 4 years, on January 2020, Kochi Corporation terminated the agreement with the company and is now inviting proposals for new. While on the other hand, waste management is one of the growing business all around.
State government of Kerala has banned the manufacturing, scale, storage and transportation of all single-use plastic products like carry bags, disposable cups, straws, PET bottles, etc. from January 1st, 2020. Products such as those manufactured or imported by the Kerala Beverages Corporation, Kerafed, Milma, Kerala Water Authority and other PSUs are exempted from this ban and will instead be covered within the existing ambit of Extended Producer Responsibility Plan, which needs to be channelized through the existing waste collection facilities set up by the local bodies, as mandated previously by the state.
With this, we have come to an end of our video presentation. We have analyzed the Coastal Regulations on Roads of 1991, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, and the Environment Protection Act of 1986, and the examples of their violations. The uncontrolled growth of urbanization and industrialization, expansion and massive intensification of agriculture, and the rapid growing population have created a number of environmental issues. They include heavy pressure on land, land degradation, habitat destruction, and loss of biodiversity. Changing consumption pattern has led to rise in demand for energy. The final outcome of these are air pollution, water pollution, global warming, climate change, and scarcity of resources.
The topics discussed earlier strongly suggest that legal action to protect and preserve the environment is not up to the mark in India due to the poor enforcement of laws. Through the years, the government of India has passed innumerable laws to help in their task of environment protection. But they are inadequate to deal with present contingency. They are dominated by socio-economic constraints and the priority of development, and at the times several compromises are made. It is high time that the people of India wake up to realize the severe magnitude of the damage caused to environment in the form of development. It is our natural environment that makes human life possible. So the government must initiate programs to create public awareness regard to relation between human rights and environment protection and also related laws. Since the existing legal provisions are inadequate, the judiciary has to play a more active and constructive role. What we need is a more effective legislation necessary for the present and upcoming centuries. Thank you.